Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It's Monday, March 18th. This is episode 85, and it is the best week of the year. After Selection Sunday yesterday, we now have a bracket in our hands. Don Harris, Matt.
Are you serious? It's tournament time, baby.
I
Rock and roll time.
I love the
Dipsy-doo,
hands.
Dunkaroo.
I love the hands thing that Dick Vitale always does. It's always right here, right here. It's always like that. It's tournament time for everybody who is questioning what day it is. We have brackets in our hands. We're going to talk all about it. We'll go through each region, maybe pick a Final Four team who we think maybe is going to be the biggest upset in there. We also have a alien-like game from Victor Wembanyama last night against the Brooklyn Nets up in Austin. We'll get all of Don's takes from the I-35 series. But, as always, we start with the number game. And for me, there are only two for 85. Okay. Antonio Gates comes to mind immediately as a player. That's my era. Anthony Totri, he was sitting in that chair. That's one of his favorite players of all time because he's a Charger fan. But when I think 85, I think 85 Chicago Bears. That's the first thing that comes to mind, probably a top three team of all time in the NFL. Maybe the best defense of all time. That can be debated with the 2000 Ravens and 2013 Seattle Seahawks, 2015 Broncos, kind of some of those teams. But Broncos are on the fringe.
Maybe the Ravens team, but I think the 85 Bears are number one.
Yeah, I think one of Mike Greenberg always says that team could have punted on first down and probably still went 8-8. Like that team was that good.
They were that good. No question about it.
That's the team that's the number, that's the player those are the players that I think of when I think of 85. I think Chicago Bears.
I think the 85 Bears, I think your list is good here with Jack Youngblood and Ocho Cinco. I mean,
yeah.
How can you not think Ocho Cinco? It's his name.
It really bothers me that his name is Ocho Cinco and not Ochenta y Cinco. That's not actually 85. It's 85.
Right. But, David Robinson was 5-0, not 50.
Yeah, but that, he didn't say it in Spanish, did he?
No.
He's just
it's a unique thing for sure.
Bob, who am I missing? You reminded me
Dave
of
Logan.
Dave Logan.
Dave Logan, one from Brian Sipes.
The big redhead.
And David Njoku.
And Njoku, yeah.
I mean, not really on the same level as Antonio Gates and the 85 Bears, but
Dave Logan was a good football player.
Had no speed, very little talent.
Brian Sipe.
Brian Sipe, yes.
Was his quarterback?
Cardiac Kids.
There was two other players that I wanted to put on here. I forgot who they are because they wore stupid numbers and were defensive players. So I didn't want to. They were 85, but they were DNs and linebackers, just like Jack Youngblood. And I was like, that really bothers me. So I'm not going to put him on this list.
Jack Youngblood put his whole name on his back of his jersey.
Jack Youngblood.
It said Jack in small letters right above Youngblood in regular letters.
Was there two Youngbloods?
There was.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I have a trivia question for you.
Uh-huh.
Who is the only NBA player to ever wear the number 85?
I don't know. It's a horrible number.
It's recent. Recent within the last 12 years.
I'll say Meta World Peace.
No, close though. Baron Davis.
Really?
Baron Davis wore 85.
Why?
I don't know. Let's call him up. Somebody call Baron.
Was he 13 before and didn't have 13 or?
I don't know. It was with his second. It was when he went to the Mavs and when his second stint with the Warriors. Not in that
85.
Yeah, it's a stupid number for an NBA player.
Okay,
but
incredibly athletic for as stocky as he was.
He was a good player. I mean, he was part of that team that beat the Mavs as an 8 seed, and they were a 1 seed. That was like the first time in NBA history, I believe, that happened.
He was a very good player.
But wasn't that the team that had like? Who else was on? I'm going to go off on a tangent. Steven Jackson was on that team, I'm pretty sure, too.
Oh, the Warriors.
The Warriors team.
Yeah.
Also in 85, the Niners beat the Dolphins because the Bears actually won the 86 Super Bowl.
That's
so this is in the year 85. So this is technically the year before the 85 Bears. The Niners beat the Dolphins in Super Bowl 38. In the Super Bowl 38-16. Super Bowl MVP was Joe Montana. The regular season MVP was Dan Marino that year. NCAA tournament in 1985. Villanova beat Georgetown 66-64.
One of the great moments in college basketball history.
Such a good game.
One of the biggest. This is the third time they played. They were both from the Big East. Georgetown dominated everybody that year. They were more dominant than Houston is this year as a runaway number one. I don't know what Vegas line was in that game. It should have been 15.
I can look real
But
quick.
they went something ridiculous, something like 22 for 24 from the field. They didn't miss. See if I can name the starting five from that Villanova team.
Wasn't that the Patrick Ewing Georgetown team?
Yes, one of. Patrick played in 3 Final Fours. That was Dwayne McClain and the other McClain and Ed Pinckney. Harold Jensen had a great game. I think he was like 11 for 11 or something. Huge upset.
I'm not going to be able to find that in the next 2 seconds.
Raleigh Massimino.
And then Patrick Ewing then got drafted number 1 overall by the Knicks in that following NBA draft. So he went out of Georgetown a loser.
When the envelope in the old tumbler for the lottery, right? There was a first year of the NBA lottery. And the big conspiracy theory was David Stern had to deliver a star to New York, the biggest market in the league. And in those days, they put the 8-9 teams that were in the lottery on these giant envelopes. And they put the envelopes in a big game show type tumbler that was clear plastic. Stern cranked it, opened the door, reached in and picked out the first envelope, not the 8th. The first went to number 1. And then they did it. The second one was 87654. So that was weird. Why? I don't know. Why would you do it that way? Well, the theory was that he cranked the tumbler, reached in, and picked the frozen envelope.
All right. That's the frozen envelope.
Cold. And it made Patrick Ewing go to the Knicks.
Now they do it much more secretively and
much more scientifically.
Much more scientifically. Also in 85, the Lakers beat the Celtics 4-2. The Royals beat the Cardinals 4-3. They became the first World Series champion to win a World Series after losing the first 2 games at home. It was their last World Series as well until 2015. It was the George Brett team.
Was that the Don Denkinger game? First base umpire that missed the crucial call at first by like 2 feet?
That I don't know. John, you know who would know that? Chuck McGinnick.
Yeah.
Chuck, where is he?
The Lakers over the Celtics was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar MVP of the finals at age 40 or 38 or something. It was ridiculous.
Maybe LeBron will do that next year. And then the Valero Texas Open, John Mahaffey won in a playoff that year at the Valero Texas Open. So let's get to the bracket. We have our sheets of integrity right here. So there's a lot of things that are interesting about this bracket. There's a lot of things about the bracket that are interesting every year. But this one, I think, has a little bit more intrigue, especially to us here in Texas. There's a lot of Texas teams. Not a lot of them have easy paths, though. Looking at the bracket holistically at first, UConn, Purdue, Houston, North Carolina, they are the 1 seeds. General impressions of the entire field as we look at it, I'm really surprised that more Big East teams didn't get in. I think the Big East got pretty shafted. Providence, I think, was good enough to make it. St. John's, I think, was good enough to make it. They had a bad quad one record, but I think that they showed enough down the stretch after Petrino killed his team, like absolutely just murdered them in the media.
Rick Pitino?
Yes. Yeah, excuse me. Rick Pitino did like what coaches are not supposed to do and said, like, it's just my team. Like, I can't coach any better than this. They're just not playing well. He doesn't have lateral quickness. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. And then after he said that, they went on a tear. I thought they were good enough to get in. I thought OU was good enough to get in as well.
Yeah. The 2 that stood out for me are OU and South Florida.
Yeah, I don't know. You can have a couple of minutes on South Florida because I think that's an absolute travesty that they didn't make the tournament.
Yeah, FAU went to the Final Four last year. They were supposed to run away with the conference, and South Florida beat them and won the conference regular season, got ousted in the semis of the conference tournament, and FAU's going along with whoever won the tournament, UAB?
Correct. They beat
so they keep South Florida out. Now, I get it. UAB beat, Iowa State and some other really good teams on their strength of schedule and the whatever they look at, the bracketologists look at all the RPI and all of that. But South Florida, Abdul Rahim's done a great job there. First year there, came from Kennesaw State, where he took them to the tournament last year. They almost pulled a 15-2 upset. Last year, he gets the South Florida job. I think they were 24-7 or something like that.
They were outrageously good. They were I think they were 500-1 to win that conference in the regular season, and they won it outright.
Yeah.
Like, he did a fantastic job, and the fact that they didn't win their conference tournament as well and they didn't get in is an absolute travesty.
Shout out Griff McHone, assistant coach from Bernie High School.
Meanwhile, you still have FAU, who didn't just get in; they got an 8 seed.
Yeah,
like, they are highly seeded for a team that completely underperformed this year.
They're pretty good though. They could play spoiler in this
tournament. Good, and they made a run last year to the Final Four. But it's like, if it almost feels like they're rating them in this tournament for what happened last year.
Yeah, I agree.
So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Meanwhile, the SEC and Big 12, they both got 8 teams in, pretty deserving there. I don't know how you don't put 8 Big 12 teams in. Maybe TCU got maybe a little highly rated.
Yeah, didn't they win a first round game in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, TCU's going to get ousted, I think, pretty quick. There's a couple of those teams I think are going to be ousted pretty quick. Yeah, but Houston also got destroyed by Iowa State and is still a number 1 seed. So we'll see about that as well. We're going to go through each region here. So, and when I'm editing this, we'll put the region on the screen so you can see what we're talking about. We'll go to the East first. In the East, UConn is the 1 seed. I think the East is a complete beast. The East is so good. The Eastern region.
I think it plays out true to form, and it's UConn over Iowa State in the regional final.
I don't think so. We saw San Diego State make a run to the Final Four last year and make a run to the finals, actually. So we could have in the Sweet 16 have a San Diego State versus UConn matchup rematch from last year.
I got Auburn over San Diego State.
I think Auburn
could win the whole thing.
I think Auburn could win the whole thing. Bruce Pearl's Auburn team is so
They're good.
They are phenomenal. And they're not just winning right now. They are smashing
They're
people.
really good. That's if you're filling out your bracket and you want a pick to go to the Elite 8, go with Auburn. I am.
You can't have Auburn going to the Elite 8 because that would mean they beat UConn.
They lose to UConn. What does that mean? They go to the
Sweet 16.
16. Okay.
Yeah. So I think Auburn beats UConn.
I might pick that too.
I think Auburn. So in this bracket in the East, you have, and I'll put it up like right here. You have UConn. You have Florida Atlantic versus Northwestern. UConn's going to beat Stetson. You have San Diego State versus UAB. You have Auburn and Yale, BYU, Duquesne, or Duquesne if you want to be like Chuck McGinty. Illinois, Morehead State.
Duquesne, first time in the tournament in 47 years.
Yeah, 1977.
1977. Right? You know who their star player was in 1977?
No,
the only player in NBA history and I know where everybody went to college.
You do. You are really good at that.
The only player in NBA history that went to Duquesne. Won championships.
Oh, hey, Bob popped up the graphic. Hey, thanks, Bob. Appreciate you.
I'm here for you.
Norm Nixon, the Lakers point guard that play with Magic.
No one knows that except for you.
Duquesne.
And then Iowa State at the bottom against
they're
South
really
Dakota
good.
State.
They're playing good.
I think that this plays out like this. I think the biggest upset in this region might be Morehead State over Illinois. I could see Illinois coming out and laying an egg and being down maybe 15 in the first half, and then trying to storm back and just not having enough juice at the end. Terrence Shannon has held that team together with.
They just won the Big Ten tournament.
They're really good. I'm not saying that Illinois is not really good. Illinois definitely has the potential to be a Final Four team, let alone an Elite
I'm not
18.
picking any 14s this year.
I think that Morehead State has a really good chance to beat Illinois. I think Duquesne has a really good chance to beat BYU. And I think UAB has a really four pick to beat San Diego State.
Kentucky's struggling. They could lose to Oakland.
We're not even there yet. But
I know,
so
but
your
we're going
Final Four,
slow.
So your Final Four pick is going to be UConn.
I don't know yet. Might be Auburn. I don't turn to my bracket until Wednesday night late.
Yeah, we got 3 more days. But
yeah, I'm trying to fill up my bracket based on your picks. So
if you're filling out your brackets based on our picks, good luck to you.
I haven't won it in 3 years.
Last year, our news director was second place after the first weekend, and she doesn't even. This is no slight to her. She's just not a sports person.
Tangi Patton won the whole thing when you're picking mascots.
Yeah, my wife just picked her bracket based on the color of their jerseys.
Very good.
She picked North Carolina to win because she likes the powder blues.
Yeah.
I picked the team farthest north one year and it didn't work out very well.
Yeah. Just stay away from any Ohio team. You'll probably be fine.
All right, let's move on.
I'm gonna go Auburn as my Final Four team.
Okay.
Let's go to the West.
To the West.
To the West is where we find North Carolina. They're the number 1 seed. Other teams in this district or in this region, district. I'm getting still on high school right now. Alabama is the 4 seed there. Baylor, the 3 seed. Arizona is the 2 seed. I think there's a real chance Arizona gets upset either in the first or second round.
Agreed.
I think that Arizona is a paper tiger. This is not just because I'm a Sun Devil and I hate the Wildcats. They are a paper tiger. This is the worst team that they've had over the last few years, and they still haven't won.
Something special is happening with Long Beach State too.
I love their team.
I'm going to pick that game.
I think Long Beach State is the 15 to upset the 2 this year.
They fired their coach 2 weeks ago and let him coach the tournament. They end up winning the whole thing and getting in.
Exactly. And now he's going to coach the tournament.
That's awesome.
It's so good.
Good for him.
And also something to keep in mind, every year, the last 3 years, a 15 is beaten in 2. So you have to pick
I'm picking
one of them.
that Long Beach over Arizona.
Don,
I
don't you have
agree.
an
And
affinity for Grand Canyon?
One more time?
Don, don't you have an affinity for Grand
I do
Canyon?
have an affinity for Grand Canyon.
So
My son went there.
So you're going to be picking Grand Canyon over St. Mary's?
I was going to pick Grand Canyon as a 12 over a 5 when they had BYU on the bracketology. I'm not a fan of BYU. I think they're vulnerable. In fact, I would pick BYU to lose to Duquesne. But St. Mary's is too good. St. Mary's is too good.
Yeah. I think in this one goes pretty chalky to me.
You know who the coach at Grand Canyon is?
Who?
Bryce Drew, Scott Drew's brother.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice. I think Baylor loses to – I think New Mexico's live. I think New Mexico will get to the Sweet 16. They're a really, really good team. JT Toppin, Obi Toppin's brother, is really, really good. They have another guy named Dent, who their point guard, who just distributes it all over the floor. They're a really, really solid team. I think that they could upset Baylor in the next round.
You think they get by Clemson?
I think they get by Clemson easily. I think they struggle against Baylor, but I think they could beat
Is
Baylor.
that Steve Alford's team?
No, Steve Alford's the Oregon.
Who's at New Mexico now? I don't know. I got Baylor and North Carolina in the final.
So you got Baylor, North Carolina in the Elite Eight with who
in the regional final.
With who coming out?
Carolina. There, RJ Davis. I'm all in on RJ Davis.
I just don't believe in Armando Bacot and Hubert Davis. I just really don't.
North Carolina's really good.
They're really good. I'm not saying they're not, but I think they'll get to the Elite Eight just because I think the rest of that bracket's really kind of weak. That top half of that bracket. I think Alabama's going to lose within the first 2 games, 2 maybe 3 games.
I think Baylor can come out of the region. I think Carolina can, but I'm going to go with Carolina.
Yeah, I think the final is going to, or the Elite Eight is going to be North Carolina and New Mexico.
Okay.
And I think it'll probably be North Carolina getting to the Final
11 seed, man. Wow.
To the Elite Eight, not to the Final 4.
Gutsy.
I really like Baylor, especially if I really like New Mexico, especially if Long Beach State beats Arizona. Who else is going to beat them? Like Nevada's okay.
Baylor.
I don't think they lose to Baylor. All right. So right now, let's get to the South region. South is where we find the Houston Cougars, who just got beat like a drum against Iowa State.
Nothing to worry about.
I don't know. I'd be worried about it. That was bad. That was ugly. They were getting doubled up 64-32 at one point. It was horrible.
It was just one of those days.
It was the worst game I've seen them play in years. But anyway, so Houston is the 1 seed, Longwood 16. Then you find Nebraska and Texas A&M, which I think will be a really interesting first round game. Nebraska is favored by 3. That's Hoiberg's team, isn't it? And they have this guy on their team that reminds me of Jeremy Lin. Their point guard is like Linsanity 2.0. It's this little Asian point guard who just makes it from anywhere, doesn't have any care in the world, just goes bad out of hell. It's so fun to watch. I don't know who wins that game, Nebraska or Texas A&M, but it really doesn't matter because they're both going to lose to Houston anyway.
That's correct.
So Wisconsin plays James Madison. I think that could be the upset of this region, James Madison over Wisconsin.
Only lost 3 games. I haven't looked at their schedule, but I will.
James Madison is I believe it's a 5-point dog to Wisconsin. Wisconsin played really well. They were like 14-1 at the beginning of the season, ended up faltering down the stretch. They were like 3-8 and then performed really well in the conference tournament. Gave Illinois all they could handle.
Beat Purdue.
And beat Purdue.
Purdue was going to be the number 1 overall
Wisconsin's a really good team. However, I think they lose to James Madison. I really do. Duke and Vermont, Duke is going to do what Duke does and lose in like the 3rd round this year, because it's either they win the whole thing or they lose in the 3rd round or the 2nd round. So I'm not really worried about Duke.
I could see Duke losing to Wisconsin in the second round.
I could see Duke losing to James Madison in the second round. You're right. Texas Tech against NC State. I don't really think it matters who wins that game because Kentucky is going to beat both of them. Kentucky's the run and gun team. People keep picking Kentucky to make it to the Final Four, and I don't see it. Like, Kentucky is so bad defensively. Everyone's like, they can play defense when they want to play defense. And it's like, okay, well, why don't they ever want to play defense?
Yeah, I don't know. Kentucky's on my possible list of a 14 knocking off a 3.
Yeah, I don't have any faith in Kentucky. I could see them losing the first 2 rounds. And then Florida just lost one of their best players to a compound fracture. Don't watch that video.
Oh, that was bad.
It's like when Paul George broke his tibia fibula when he landed on the stanchion.
Let's put it this way.
It reminds me of that.
Let's put it this way. It was a broken leg, and there was blood.
Yeah.
So it broke through the skin.
Yeah, you don't need to see it. So I don't have any faith in Florida. I think they could be upset by either Colorado or Boise State. I like Colorado a lot. I think Colorado could make it to the Sweet 16, maybe even the Elite 8.
Great players.
Yeah.
Not great team, but they got NBA talent on that team.
And then Marquette, there's so many question marks with Marquette because of Shaka Smart and Tyler Kolek, who's been injured for the last couple of weeks because of an oblique strain. If you remember last year, Marquette was a really high seed. They were coming in without Tyler Kolek, who got injured in one of their early games, and then they ended up losing pretty early on in the tournament. He's the straw that stirs the drink for them. So if he's not healthy, they're not going anywhere. So I could see Colorado making a run. Final Four?
Western Kentucky, by the way, shout out Steve Lutz, East Central High School coach, is the coach of Western Kentucky. And Jaron Jackson from Wagner High School is playing for him. So shout out Western Kentucky for local kids. But I got Houston coming out of there.
Yeah, Houston coming out of there. I haven't made my decision on this yet, but for the sake of time, I'll take Houston as well. I'll have my final pick on Thursday when we do this. And the Midwest region, Purdue is the 1 seed there. That's where you find Utah State, TCU, Gonzaga, Kansas, South Carolina, Oregon, Creighton, Akron, Texas, and Tennessee. To me, if Kansas is healthy, which is a huge question mark, they can make it to a Final Four. But if Kevin McCullers and Kevin, I keep getting him and Lance McCullers, those two names mixed up. If Kevin McCullough Jr.
Shout out Wagner High School.
Yeah, from Wagner High School, one of the best two-way players in the entire country. Went to Texas Tech and then transferred to Kansas. If Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson don't play, they're screwed. They might lose to
Tennessee comes out of that bracket for me no matter what.
No matter what.
I love Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah.
They performed like dog crap against Mississippi State.
I think the Connect kid is really, really good, and Rick Barnes has done a great job with that team. I mean, they're playing in a really hard league, and I don't put a lot of stock in conference tournaments because you see teams lose in the semis or the final of the conference tournament and then go on to win the championship. It's almost like a tune-up, and like Houston. That was a complete anomaly. Houston's going to come out and destroy.
Let me ask you this. Purdue, it was the team that lost as a 16 versus 1 last year. They lost in the first round of the tournament to, I forgot what the team was, Farley Dickinson.
Yeah.
The last time that happened was Virginia in 2018. And then in 2019, Virginia came back and won the whole thing. Do you see Purdue making a run here after
they're good
getting destroyed last year?
They're good, but I think there's something to be said for your clutch gene when something like that happens. That's why I don't believe in them. I mean, I don't know if Utah State or TCU are good enough to beat them, but I think Kansas is. So I don't think they get out of that side.
I don't think they make it past the second round. I'll just say it. Yeah. I don't think they can beat. I think they can beat Utah State or TCU. TCU is a worse matchup for them because they press more. But I think that Utah State's going to roll through both of those teams, and I think Utah State is going to make the Sweet 16.
Really?
Yes. If I'm going to pick a team out of that area, though, if Kansas is healthy, I'm taking Kansas. If Kansas is not healthy, then I'm probably going to end up taking Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
So overall impressions, do you think this is a better, worse, good, bad
I love it. I think it's a great tournament because I think there's so many upsets and there's so like anybody can make the Final Four, like almost, all the way through like 6 and 7 seeds can make the Final Four. I like this. I mean, Texas Tech could make a Final Four. I really believe that after seeing how they played in the Big 12 this year. So I think it's wide open. Nothing will surprise me. But I do think after knocking on the door all these years, Kelvin Sampson and his guys, because of their veteran guards and length and size and defense, and they just play so hard, I think Houston wins it.
Yeah, I mean, 2 Sweet 16s, an Elite Eight, and a Final Four in the last 4 years. You can't get much better than Kelvin Sampson has been over there. So
and look, I've always picked my brackets with senior guards. You can have, the one and dones that are going to go play in the NBA, and they can be great players. But when it gets to tournament time, like San Diego State last year, those guys were 25 years old, man.
Yeah, I know.
And they're playing against 18-year-olds.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I usually choose the veteran teams, the veteran guards, the veteran big men, like anybody who has older players because they've been there before.
And they're bigger and they're stronger and they're tougher and they're more mature.
That's why I see Kentucky going out early, just because they're a young team.
Always.
So this is the best event that we have all year. I'm sorry to every employer across the country who is going to get a lack of production this week because of men and women who have like 3 phones up at their computers and have a little screen on their
checking
desktop, checking scores, checking brackets. Like, I'm sorry. This is the most unproductive week of the year. This is also, I think Wednesday is the day that the most vasectomies are scheduled in the country every year because men sit at home the next day and just watch the tournament.
Are you serious?
I swear to God, that's actually a fact. That the most vasectomies in the country are scheduled on Wednesdays, on the Wednesday before the tournament.
So you may tell you my vasectomy story?
Not even a little.
Yes. Yes.
All right, let's hear it. I mean, we might not even get to the Spurs. Let's hear the vasectomy story.
So I go to the doctor for the consult. And I said, okay, so how does this work? And he goes, well, we give you a topical and then we do the thing. And I said, a topical. So there's like a cream or something to deaden the thing. And he goes, no, it's a shot. And I go, okay, so you give me a shot where? Like in the groin, like in the leg? And he goes, no, it's in the, And I go, okay, thank you very much. I will not be having this done. So I left.
And then Julie said.
And then like 3 weeks later, I get a hernia. And I had to go under the knife completely, under and all that stuff. So I'm on the consult for that. And I said, hey, by the way, while I'm under, you mind if I call my urologist guy and get the vasectomy done at the same time? No problem. So I'm out. I get both done. The hernia was so painful in recovery, I never felt the vasectomy.
And it would have been better if you got both of those done the Wednesday before the tournament.
Probably.
Think of how great those 2 days of recovery would have been.
That was such a painful recovery.
With your peas and whatnot on and icing it down. Anyway, I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Cyber Bob, you have one?
No.
Are we really talking about vasectomies right now, guys? I'm sorry I brought this up. You're the only one here.
Hats off to the guys that can take the shot.
I don't even like seeing people get like kicked in the groin. It just gives me
I got a buddy of mine who's got an eye problem, and he has to get injections with a big needle in the eyeball.
Nope, take my eye out. I don't care. I'm not getting injections.
I think that alone would make me infertile.
Yeah. Nope, I'm good.
That's a great line.
All right, so Wemby goes beast mode in Austin. Let's talk about that before everybody tunes out because of our vasectomy stories here. The I-35 series came to an end. Yeah. Spurs lost on Friday to the Nuggets. That's to be expected. They'll lose anywhere to the Nuggets. I mean, a lot of people lose to the Nuggets. That's not abnormal. But then they beat the Nets on Sunday, and Wemby went completely bonkers. 33, 15, 7, and 7. The second 7 being blocks. So one of them
only been done 3 times before, twice by Kareem, once by Joel Embiid.
And the last one basically sealed the game for him.
Game-saving block at the top of the square.
Yeah, blocked Schroeder as he was going in to make that layup as well. That was called the goaltending, ended up not being a goaltending. He was just absolutely breathtaking. Like I think we're already starting to take for granted how good and how much of an alien he is.
I don't think so. Here's what I think is happening in San Antonio. People aren't paying attention because of the record.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Spurs fans just tune out, they're not any good. They don't watch. If you're not watching, you're missing NBA history in the making. He's the only person in NBA history, period, with 200 blocks, 100 threes, and 75 steals in a season. No one else has ever done it, and he's got 15 games to go. He has more block shots in his rookie year right now than 81% of active NBA players have in their careers. Think about that.
Seems good.
It's just the number, like he's going to be on a 15-win team, and he should be first team all NBA. I mean, all defense. He should be defensive player of the year. He won't get it. And I think he can make a case that makes an all NBA team.
I think he should be an all NBA player.
I don't know. You got Jokic, you got Sabonis ahead of him.
Well, it depends.
For sure.
The problem with the all NBA teams, and this is a completely aside, the problem with all NBA teams, you have to do it by position.
And you have to play 65 games.
So I don't really understand where you would put him in position. Like maybe center? Do you put him at center? Do you put him at power forward?
I don't think you have to be a center. I think there's three.
You could put him at forward or center.
Yeah.
You can't put him at guard.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the all
three
NBA
front
teams.
court players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the problem with the all NBA teams is you actually have to pick centers.
Well, he'll be a center then, and Jokic is first team. And I think Sabonis has to be second team.
I don't think does he play? He's more of a forward though.
I don't know.
But either way, the things that Wemby is doing are
Embiid would be, but he didn't play enough games.
Right. The thing that Rudy Gobert might make one just because
Wemby's better than Gobert.
Cat.
Yeah, they've had a great year.
But I mean, he might not make the threshold now anyway. But the things that Wemby is doing are considerably being discounted because of the team he's on. I think by many of the Spurs faithfuls around San Antonio.
True.
What he's doing is historic. What he's doing is making people tune in. And if you aren't paying attention, it is a travesty.
You're missing it.
You're missing history.
Did you see his dad shot last night?
Yeah. Literally, if you go back to it's right at the end of the game. It's pretty close to the end of the game, end of the regulation, right? When he has the dad shot, it's like if you were playing basketball in the driveway with your kid and your kid's
8-foot goal,
and your kid's a foot and a half shorter than you are. That's what it looked like. He just
hold it up and he just like his dad blocks this year.
It's ridiculous. But what I wanted to ask you about before we get out of here is it seems like every time I watch a game in the newsroom with you, you're yelling about some stupidity that happened on the court.
I don't want to start a fight.
I'm not trying to start a fight. I'm just asking you, what do you think? Do you think that some of these players know how to play basketball?
I'll say this. I think Devin Vassell has greatly improved over the course of the season in his court awareness and his ability to find Wemby. And he's taken a huge step forward in playing the way that they're going to have to play with a player of Wemby's caliber. And I think he's learning that, and I think he's doing a really good job. I think there's a couple of other guys who do not.
Hey, do you see how comfortable Wemby was playing in Austin? It's like he really likes playing in Austin.
All right, Don, give me your thoughts on the I-35 series as a whole this year, and then we'll get out of here.
This thing is great. I think we found a lot of Spurs fans who go up there, a lot of Austin fans who love having the Spurs up there. I think they're doing just like the Celtics did in the 70s and 80s when they played 5 games a year in Hartford. They're just growing their fan base. And I think that the ridiculous talk of politicians like Tommy Calvert and Tony Gonzalez over the last few years about the Spurs might move to Austin have been squashed with the fact that there's going to be a brand new downtown arena right where the Institute of Texan Culture sits. And I think you didn't hear that this year because of that.
Wemby is the new Institute of Texan Culture.
That's right. That's right.
Let's put an Institute of French culture right there.
And now fear-mongering politicians who try to get votes because of it or pass a bill called the SPUR resolution for local teams not losing. Come on, man. They were never going to Austin.
Wemby likes playing there.
$500 million practice facility up at the Rock will do that for you too.
Of course. They're never going anywhere except to downtown.
Hopefully to an NBA Finals at some point.
That's going to happen.
God, I hope so. I don't want to do this again for another 15 and 53 team. I hope they're not that bad next
They're not
year.
going to be that bad, but they're not going to be great. They're not going to be great. This is going to take some time.
Can they surpass 30 wins next year?
I don't know. It depends on who they get. But I can tell you this kid's 20 years old. The goal is from the time he turns 23 to the time he's 33, that 10 years, you want to win them all. But I don't know that they can get there at age 21.
Well, that's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. On the way out, Bob, any comments, remarks that you want to add in here from
Bob's trying to
viewers
stir
or
the pot.
anybody else? Viewers
No,
or anybody else?
Our friend Tom Guerrero,
What's up, Tom?
who's online.
¿Qué pasó,
right now,
Tomás?
he says that he says Wemby needs a bright orange vest in order to be seen on the court.
That's what it seems like
See?
sometimes.
See, he's with me. Some of these guys aren't looking for him.
I mean,
But Devin's gotten better.
Devin has gotten better.
Great insight from the business office.
Thanks for watching, Tom.
Anybody else? All good?
You
Bob,
don't have
all
to
good,
worry
all
about Tom and his brackets being unproductive. He's being unproductive right now watching this podcast.
good. Hey, we appreciate it, Tom.
I can't. I'm kidding, Tom. Go back to work, Tom.
All right, that's all we got for you. We'll see you right back here on Thursday. Probably going to be listening to this on Thursday instead of watching it because we got plenty of NCAA basketball to watch on Thursday. So
We're
we'll
not
see.
doing it on Thursday.
Yeah, honestly, we should take that day off. Is anyone having a vasectomy on Wednesday? We'll see you right back here on Thursday. Have a good week.